Hello, my name is Maria, and the topic of this video is the integrated project of 2016 revenue management. The purpose of this project is to create a pricing strategy for 2 weeks, one in February and one in March. During the week in February, a big event will be taking place, while the chosen week in March is considered as a regular business week. During this video, I will guide you through the strategies I have gone through in order to finalize my pricing strategy. To begin with, I have provided you with a table of contents. In order to create a pricing strategy, one must always evaluate internal and external factors first. This is what I have also done. All of the insights gained from the following figures and tables will serve as a base and support for the pricing strategy I will come up with. Without any further ado, I would like to show you the following 2 slides, which include the list of figures and tables, and from then on, I will begin with my strategy creation process explanation. To begin with, I will show you a figure of how both NH and the competitor properties react price-wise during a period of high demand levels. As you can see, they both have a similar price curve. Following, we will look at the yearly performances, where we can see an increase in occupancy percentages after 2015. This is partially because of the renovation. The rather inelastic nature of the price elasticity of demand for the product of NH could be investigated from the following table. As seen, the occupancy percentage is growing, alongside the average daily rate is also increasing, meaning the revenue per available room will also follow the tendency without causing fluctuations in demand of great importance. On this slide, we can see that the comparison of the 2 key performance indexes show us that after the renovation, the NH hotel has quickly picked up the pace and managed to increase both the levels of average daily rate by 9% and the revenue per available room by 17.6%. On figure 4, we see the guest experience index of NH and the whole competitive set. However, what does that say? The NH hotel has such a high guest experience index because of the renovation which took place in 2015. What also contributes to these differences is the wide range of the competitor hotels. If transformed into an average, it seems that the NH has a higher performance in its online reputation. However, this way of comparison would be rather irrelevant. Instead, we need to break down the competitors' performances into individual ones. This would allow us to gain a more valuable insight into our weak points and our advantages over the competitors. If done so, these are the results. NH is still in a very high position, however the difference between NH and the higher performer is still rather big. This is why the competitive set has to be carefully evaluated. Also, while benchmarking the performance, certain details need to be taken into account. And comparing our property to the competitive set 1 is so important because it will enhance the pricing decisions. As we saw in figure 1, slide 5, as the demand and occupation percentages rise due to renovations and other factors, the online reputation is also improved. The transparency of today's businesses and the availability of online platforms for ranking properties such as Booking.com, for example, makes it easier for consumers to benchmark products themselves. The good online reputation opens up an opportunity to raise the average prices. The higher price, the higher value of money perceived by customers, creating an upward spiral trend. This means that if the online reputation score is higher, the rate of our property could increase while maintaining the same occupancy percentage easily. This is why the guest experience index scores will also help us during the price estimation process later on. So, how is the competitive set chosen, and what do we compare our property with? Here are shown the STR guidelines for choosing a competitive set. I have evaluated them all separately and I have implicated them into the following slide. This is the competitive set provided by NH itself. Even though I have looked into detail at all the rest of the competitor hotels, these are the ones that have matched my criteria the best, so I'll leave the rest aside for the purposes of this project. The criteria are visible. The property must be participating in the STR evaluation, must have 4 stars or above, should not be further away than 10 kilometers, and the product range should be similar. Next slide will showcase some more in-depth findings. Here you can see that within the competitive set, there are 2 hotels which differ drastically from the rest. To begin with, Grand Hotel Carl V is a 5 stars, while the rest of the properties are of 4 stars. While evaluating the individual performances, it was almost inevitable to notice that the online reputation of the hotel is rather higher than the one of NH. Also, NH Utrecht is in a lower price range than the Grand Hotel Carl V. These facts might lead to a wrongful interpretation of the key performance indexes while benchmarking. Nevertheless, including this property in the competitive set of the NH I believe is crucial. Even though it might be generally considered being a higher class, the Grand Hotel Carl V illustrates a goal performance that NH must be setting as a long-term goal. Therefore, even after considering to remove this property from the competitive set, the conclusion is that it should definitely be taken into account. Findings from the comparison made only with lower class properties might not be objective, neither contributing to understanding the market positioning of our property. Secondly, the Carlton President Hotel stands out with being the furthest away. This, in a certain matter, means it might not be a direct competitor. However, we should not forget the flexibility of today's customer and the ease of traveling. This would indeed lead us to the conclusion that this hotel should be included in the competitive set as well. Also because of the number of rooms. Since NH is rather big comparing to the rest of the hotels, it is important to include a property that has a similar product range. As indicated in the table, Carlton President has the highest percentage of rooms from the total room number, after NH of course. Therefore, I must conclude that the competitive set provided during the guest lecture by NH is really valuable and I will keep it this way and use it for the rest of the project. In the following figures will be shown rate shopping using the data from OTA Insights. These figures will help onwards with the estimation of the prices of our own property, enabling us to improve the competitive positioning on the market. On this chart you can see the rates for all competitive properties for the first so-called event week, 5th until the 11th of February. What is noticeable is that towards the end of the week, prices of the hotels fall down. This makes sense because the event will be over by then and the demand will fall. Also, hotels want to focus on attracting more leisure guests who have a bit higher price sensitivity than business guests. On the second chart, there are the rates from the so-called normal business week, 12th until the 18th of March. Generally, the prices are lower than the event week. This, of course, is also easily explained because there is no such big event to cause any fluctuations in demand. There is no noticeable difference in rates during week 2 unless the night of 16th for Apollo Hotel. This is explained by the event called White Lies taking place close to the property. In Table 4, you can see the average prices per day for both weeks derived from the rate shopping data. The column percentage change per day is to show us that the indeed greatest percentage change in prices are right before and after the weekend. The last 3 tables mean to help us compare each property individually with NH as well as to compare them as a whole. The findings are going to be used later during the estimation of our own prices. With the insights gained from the evaluation of the competitive set, rate shopping and online reputation, I can conclude that the current competitive positioning of the NH hotel is rather satisfactory. This is illustrated as well in the competition maps. Having in mind all the criteria for the competitive set and the online rate, it is obvious that the hotel has only one direct competitor that is doing better. This means, as mentioned before, that it is possible that the price category of NH to be increased a bit based on the good online reputation, and this is possible without influencing the demand levels in a negative manner. Now that we know more or less where exactly are we positioned on the market, we have to look at who are we targeting for. To develop the pricing strategy, we need to estimate who are we setting these prices for. By evaluating the data provided by NH, I have summarized the small subsegments into segments NH is mainly focusing on or working with. It is illustrated on the graph. This data will help to better understand who is buying the product and what are the percentage equivalents of each. The data will be needed later on when estimating the prices per segment. I also wanted to translate how the revenue of NH is distributed among these segments. Using the data provided by the hotel and the STR Global, the following estimations were made. As you can see, the most contribution belongs to the transient group, which has an increase during the 2016. It is also seen that the others group has a contribution less than 5%. Therefore, it will not be considered in any further calculations. Also, to help me further, I wanted to determine the average daily rate and revenue per available room percentage change over the years. This will serve as a guide when setting prices. All data is derived from Mrs. Williams' presentations and the data provided by NH. As seen on the table, there is a total increase of average daily rate of 18%, which had led to an increase of the revenue per available room of 38.71%. From these calculations, I can also set an objective for the pricing strategy. It is to increase the ADR in order to improve the revenue per available room. If we divide the change of the ADR for the course of the past 3 years by 12 months, we will be left with a possibility of 1.5 increase per month for 2017. This percentage will be taken into account for further calculations. Furthermore, in order to start estimating any prices, a final piece is needed, and this is the decision-making matrix. Such tool will allow me to take into account only the elements with the greatest value. In the figure you can see the elements on which the pricing strategy will be based. They are listed from highest to lowest importance. For the price determination, first rate shopping was taken into account. Added to this was the business on books already existing, as well as the historical data from the same time last year. For the week of February, the data is for 2015, since the last time the event took place was back then. After I got the averages of these numbers, a percentage increase was added. As discussed earlier, the tendency of percentage change for 2016 is about 18%. Considering that in 2017 there are no renovations planned for the hotel, the increase should stay about the same. I have divided the total percentage change by 12 months. Then, for each month of the year while determining the rates, another 1.5% is added to the final calculation. In the two tables you can see the final rate set for week in February and the week in March. Now that the final base prices are determined, restrictions might be implemented. The reason why is connected to the occupancy percentage. From the data we were provided by the NH hotel, we can see the business on the books, also the forecasted demand. Knowing this, we can also calculate the expected pickup. This data is demonstrated in the table. As we can see, there are still rooms left to be sold, since they are not registered on the books yet. However, they are predicted as a forecasted percentage of occupancy. In order to increase the efficiency of the bookings, we can follow several methods. One of which is putting a length of stay restrictions on days with high demand. As explained by Hagen, such restrictions may positively influence the days with lower demand. Another method is that discount rates are implemented for advanced bookings, for example. Now we know the days when the most rooms are still to be booked in order to reach the forecasted occupancy percentage, and we can set a length of stay restrictions as shown on this slide. This table, on the other hand, shows us the rates and how they will be changed if an advanced booking strategy is applied. All of the percentages for the special rates are extracted from the presentation by NH. For further evaluation, the key performer indexes for previous periods are calculated using the data from the sheets provided by NH. In specific, using the forecasted occupancy percentage per day and the average daily rates. On this first slide, we can see the key performance indexes calculated for both weeks, in February and in March. In the table, there are also averages, which will be translated into percentages later on. And in order to compare our prospective performance, I did the same calculations for this year, 2015. This table also includes the averages of all key performance indexes. Finally, the percentage changes of all key performance indexes are calculated and demonstrated. As you can see, the only one negative change is of the occupancy percentage of March compared to last year. While working on this project, I have realized how many aspects there are of revenue management, and I have become aware of the ever-changing nature of the subject. However, I believe that using just a bit, but the right input, I have managed to create a relatively good pricing strategy. We were provided with a lot of data, which I think is successfully translated into useful information and put together into a bold pricing strategy. What I want to recommend is that the NH Hotel never excludes a competitor who might be performing better in a few aspects. I believe in continuous improvement, and only making a comparison with lower performing properties, for me, is just a sign of counterproductivity.